Hello everyone, this is the Clark Knight, and today I thought I'd try my hand at a top 10 video. And today I wanted to show you guys my top 10 favorite 3DS games, and hopefully somewhere on this list you can find something that you haven't played before, or you might just be curious what my 10 favorite games are. But yeah, this is going to be my list. Here it goes. Number 10 on the list would be Triforce Heroes. The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes has all the traits of a typical Zelda game, but now the only way to progress is to work through with two fellow heroes. The dungeons itself are a lot of fun, and with friends, it's a blast. Single player exists, but it's almost a hassle to get a functional online team together, while playing offline is rather boring. But I would recommend the game solely for the experience you get playing with your friends. Coming in at number 9 is Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are remakes of the Game Boy Advance's Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Growing up, I had some cherished memories of those games. Replaying them with the aesthetics of Pokemon X and Y was simply a treat. There are minor changes in the story and added elements such as new Mega Evolutions and even cosplay Pikachu. I also found the secret bases a blast to explore and make. The reason the game isn't any higher on the list would be the lack of replayability. Since I knew the story, after one playthrough I was already done with the game. I still preferred competitively battling on X and Y, so the game became a little bit stale. I still love these games and they are a great addition to the Pokemon franchise. At number 8 is Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright. Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright was one of my first games on the 3DS, which was definitely memorable. Switching between Layton's puzzles and Phoenix Wright's court cases kept my attention throughout the span of the game. A notable achievement the game had was that the story it presents is one of my favorite on the 3DS. The setting was in a medieval past, which gave the scenery a surprisingly pleasant feel to it. At points the game felt like it dragged on for a little bit too long, but overall it's filled with fond memories and some cheeky puzzles. Coming in at 7 is Bravely Default. Bravely Default is a turn-based RPG with class customization for each of the 4 main protagonists. The game excels in both the combat and the storytelling. The combat is creative using the Brave and Default system, which creates new strategic possibilities in battle. Square Enix paints the world of Luxembourg in such a way that exploring area to area gives a sense of adventure that is typically missing from similar titles. The low point of the game would be the climax, which is rather disappointing, since it makes the ending feel more like a chore than a finale. But despite the ending, this game is one of my favorite entries on the 3DS. And on the list at number 6 is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Majora's Mask was originally released in 2000 for the N64. This remake is 15 years later and not surprisingly looks worlds better. Personally, I never played Majora's Mask until the 3DS release, and as a game in general, it's landed a spot in my top 3 Zelda games, which is no small feat. The dungeons never felt tedious, the world of Termina was majestic as Hyrule, and the 3-day mechanic stands the test of time. Pun intended. The collecting of masks was probably the most fun, which giving you a new ability along with an oversense of achievement was a major plus. In my opinion, this game is the best remake Nintendo has for the 3DS. What's my 5th favorite game, you ask? It's Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. Before we had Smash Bros. For the Wii U, we had Super Smash Bros. 3DS version, and this quickly became a fan favorite. The new fighters like Lucina, Mega Man, and Shulk quickly gained popularity. The game does play closely to Brawl rather than Melee, so if that influences your decision to buy it, so be it. Personally, I think it plays better than any game in the series and would certainly recommend it. The reason it's down to the 5th spot is because the Wii U version kinda made the game irrelevant for me, so if you don't have a Wii U or you just want an option for on-the-go smashing, then this game is a must. And the 4th game on the list is Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. Next on my list would be Pokemon X and Y. I've probably put the most time into these titles, logging hundreds of hours. This is the nicest a Pokemon game has ever looked, and the new 3D look is popular enough to lead to similar looks in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and now, coming this fall, Pokemon Sun and Moon. The new Pokemon in the region were all very well made in my opinion, despite being the smallest generation of Pokemon yet. The story was nothing amazing, but even with a lack of depth, I was still entertained with Pokemon's usual formula. The reason the game ranks so high would be the game's opened up a lot of doors for me regarding EV training and competitive battling. Breeding for IVs and training for EVs is the most accessible in this game than any previous Pokemon title. The addition of super training adds to the fact that Pokemon really wants people to be exposed to the competitive aspect of the game. For this reason, the game has nearly endless replayability, trying out new teams and even hunting for more shinies than ever. This game is one of my favorite of the Pokemon franchise.
Number 3, well, that would be Monster Hunter Ultimate 4.
Monster Hunter 4 proved the franchise was simply perfect for handheld gaming. In the game, you hunt monsters, gather material, and complete quests. Not very complex from a bird's eye view, but when you take a look at the strategy every weapon has, the game is actually pretty deep. Every time I would take a different weapon, the game felt like it was completely new. The variety of monsters in the game keeps you on edge and is exciting as you progress. Where the game makes its biggest strides would be the multiplayer. Playing with friends online is truly memorable. I had so much fun strategizing with friends using different weapons and hunting down monsters to help each other complete armor sets. I couldn't believe it. It's one of the best cooperative games I've ever played and is one of the best titles on the 3DS.
The first runner-up on the list would be The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds.
A Link Between Worlds was the best game on the 3DS for a long time and still holds to be a fantastic experience. The game is similar to A Link to the Past but has a fresh look and a new mechanic. The mechanic is that Link can transform into a 2D painting that travels along the walls. I loved how easily it complemented the dungeons in the world of Hyrule. The story was fantastic and gave me a sense of motivation that a lot of handheld games lack these days. The combination of merging into walls and the classic Zelda formula that we all love gives A Link Between Worlds the number 2 spot on the list.
And my favorite game on the Nintendo 3DS is Fire Emblem Awakening.
One of my favorite games of all time and easily the best on the 3DS would be Fire Emblem Awakening. Super Smash Bros. Is responsible for Fire Emblem's rise in popularity in the States, but Fire Emblem Awakening is the reason the franchise has received some of its true fans, including myself. To start, the strategic battlefield combat is addicting. Moving troops feels so free, and the ways the characters interact on the battlefield gives you tons of options to strategize. Outside of battle, the characters you create has many options to have kids with other characters on the battlefield, which can then battle alongside of you. This gives the game a lot of replayability, with me wanting to see what my kid would look like with every character. The story was meaningful and didn't drag on at any point of the game. Lastly, I couldn't get over how fantastic the art and music was in the game. Truly memorable. So, if you haven't tried this game, and you have a 3DS, you're missing out on what I think is the best game on the system.
So yeah, those are my favorite 3DS games. If you guys have anything that I left out that you want to add, or games that I should check out, then feel free to leave them in the comments. Just a little caution about the list, I haven't played Fire Emblem's Fates yet, and that's kind of my next on the list, but yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this year. I still want to get around to playing the new Kirby game, and also I want to play Pokemon Sun and Moon when they come out, so that's very exciting. If you guys want to sub to my channel, you'll be getting more content like this, so just click the sub button at the end of the video. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.